Hi, I'm Naomi Schmidt. Welcome to our Bible study where we're going to look at the third chapter in the book of Ruth. This is really the climax of the story. We've seen Naomi and Ruth return from Moab to Bethlehem. We've seen them settle in, and Ruth has been gleaning in the fields, and the harvest is coming to a close. There's been a barley harvest, a wheat harvest. It's been 6 to 8 weeks maybe. And now things are coming to a close and the harvest is finishing. And one day Naomi has a great idea. And when she comes up with this idea, I have to admit to you, I can really relate to her. I really understand her thinking that I can fix this. I have an idea. We can do this. I know we can do this. And this is what we're going to do. And she lays it all out in her head. And of course, it's easier to look at something like that in someone else's life and think, you need to wait on God. You need to remember that He's in control and He's working and He's doing this. But I certainly share Naomi's excitement. This is a great idea, quite honestly, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. But it is a good moment for us to just pause and reflect on God working in our life, and just that assurance that we can have in our heart that we can get excited about ideas. We can be very zealous about kingdom work, but we just always want to keep remembering that God is the one who's working. God's the one that certainly accomplishes things and blesses our labors, and it's just a good moment for reflection. But they have a great idea. Naomi tells Ruth that she should take a bath, change her clothes, get all dressed up, and head down to the threshing floor. And you and I might not quite realize the stigma that's attached to that idea, because to us, the threshing floor seems like a place where you thresh grain. But actually in ancient Israel, it would have been also a place for some promiscuity and perhaps some inappropriate behavior. It's the harvest time. And people are partying, they're drinking, there's some inappropriate sexual behavior, and that was kind of tied to the threshing floor. That was a place where people would have gone to carouse and party and whatnot. But Boaz is going to go there after he's celebrated with his friends, simply to protect his grain. He's just going to stay there to make sure that thieves don't get it or wild animals. And so that's why Boaz is going to be there. But now Naomi says, hey, Ruth, you should go down there and you should ask him. Just go there and wait for him to tell you what to do. And so Ruth gets all dressed up and she goes down to the threshing floor. We're going to see Boaz sleeping, and he wakes up in the middle of the night. And he's like, whoa, there's a woman here. And Ruth just says, hey, I got a plan. I really want to marry you, and I think that you should be the redeemer and you should buy back the land. And so we get all excited because Ruth has got this great plan that she's putting in place. And Boaz agrees to the plan. It's very interesting to me that there's really two things that Ruth is talking to Boaz about. First of all, she's saying, I want to be your wife. I want to be married to you. And that is indicated with the spread your garment over me, that type of thing. That's really unfamiliar language to us, and it's a very unfamiliar custom. And yet Scripture is very clear that Ruth is proposing to Boaz, and she's hoping that he will marry her. We're going to look at a couple of Bible passages that also reflect that idea with some similar imagery. So maybe we can understand that a little bit better. And Boaz agrees to that. Boaz says, I will. As surely as God lives, I will do that. So he has given the promise to marry Ruth. But now she comes and she's got this, the other part of her proposal is that Boaz redeem the land. Now this is where we need to go back and think about what we know about Boaz as a redeemer. We learned right before chapter 1 that he's qualified. He's a blood relative who is capable and he's willing. But there's another redeemer that has the first rights to do that. And so Boaz can't promise to redeem the land because somebody else has the right to do that first. We also learned in the laws about being a redeemer that the purpose of a redeemer was to buy back the land. And it didn't have anything to do with marrying the widow. Now, a redeemer very well would have cared for the widow just by a matter of conscience, but he was not obligated by law. And what that means is that although there's another man who is able to redeem the land, Boaz is still able to promise to marry Ruth. He can marry Ruth without redeeming the land, and that's what he promises to do. Then regarding the land redemption, he says, I'll do it if I can. The other guy has a right to it. We'll see what he says. But if he doesn't, I promise you that I will. And so then there's this quietness and rest, and they kind of wait through the night. And we're going to have to wait to chapter 4 to see how all of that plans out. But there are some great things for us to consider here. There's some great moments as Ruth goes to the threshing floor, and she's trusting. She's just going to lay it out there. Hey, Boaz, this is what I think we should do. And then she trusts God. And I love how she's waiting on Boaz's decision. She simply knows that she's going to ask him. She's going to throw it out there as an idea and wait to see what he says. And I wish that I could always reflect that calmness and that trust in my heart. Here's my idea. This is what I'd like to do. Now let me know if that's going to work out. And I love that picture. And I love that there's some quiet time before she goes home in the morning. That's really tied to Boaz protecting Ruth's reputation. But it also gave me some thoughts about just, she approached Boaz, she asked the question, she listened to his response, and then she just rested. And it was a beautiful pattern that I thought, I think I want to apply that in my life as well. So see if you can find some things that you would like to apply in your life as you watch Ruth approach Boaz, as you listen to Boaz respond, and as we wait for the morning. We're going to see that Ruth is going to go back home to Naomi. She's going to have another sack full of grain. And again, Naomi's going to be delighted, but it isn't just the grain that's going to delight Naomi this time. So enjoy chapter 3. It's going to be awesome.